Today I'm going to show you how to take up the waistband in these jeans. What we'll do is we will take a dart on the back right here on both sides. We're taking out 4 inches, okay? And then we'll take that waistband off and we will reattach it. Let's get started. Okay, after you've measured your jeans on your model, then you have removed the top of that belt loop there. You want to measure how much you're going to need to take out. Okay, on each side. And you can remove your clips where you marked it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a seam. We're going to take the waistband off, and then we're going to take a seam out right through here. First thing we want to do, you're going to get your chalk marker, and you're going to measure kind of in the middle of that pocket. And you want this seam to go together smoothly. So you're going to place your line along that seam and know about where to take it up. You're going to do that on both sides. So I'm just kind of aiming at the middle of that pocket and marking with this perpendicular line there. So we know that's where we're going to take the seam. And then also we're going to want to know where to take the seam in the waistband. So I'm just going to mark the middle of that. I'm going to be taking out this middle of the waistband here. So if there's any tags back here, you're going to want to take them off. So I'm going to remove that. Okay, and this little label here is metal, so at least we don't have to remove that because we're just going to take out some out of that part right there. So next we're going to remove the waistband. And there's a chain stitch on the back of it, on the top and on the bottom. So I want to start just a little ways in right here. So I'm going to break the stitching. And then on this side, I'm going to break the stitching here. And then sometimes you can just grab that little chain stitching, grab one of those threads. Doesn't always work. Okay, so most of the time, this is a chain stitch in here. So sometimes you can grab just the right thread. Once you find it, and you can grab it and it'll just pull right out. Sometimes you gotta try a few times first to find it. So just pick out a few more of those stitches. I'm gonna loosen one on the other side. Thought I had it. Okay, here we go. Look there. You can just pull it out as far as you need it. Go about to there. And I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to come over here on this side. And you should be able to pull that front thread out. Once you get back over there where you had it out, you can just cut it off. Then repeat on the top side right there. Woohoo! Okay, I've got my mark here where I'm going to take that. I'm just going to put my thumb right there where it's making a good dart. You want to keep those even. So I'm going to put a pin right along there to make sure I keep them level. And then you're going to come to a point right at the top of the pocket. You're going to move that pocket out of the way so you don't catch it in there. So I'll know I'm coming to a point right there. And up here, they kind of got some fabric folded over there, so I'm going to unfold that for now. We're going to need to take about 1 inch out at the top. You want to make sure you have a denim needle in your sewing machine. So right there where that seam is, it's going to be about 1 inch over that I needed, which is 2 inches out. And that's 2 inches on each side. So I'm really taking 4 inches out of the way. She's lost a lot of weight. Okay, so we're going to take that seam and put in another seam. Now I'm using my home sewing machine instead of an industrial one. So when I get to that seam, I'm going to turn my hand wheel to go over it. So first I'm going to hold those threads out of the way. I'm going to reverse. And I'm just going to crank my hand wheel to go over that big heavy seam. Otherwise, you're going to be breaking a lot of needles. You might have to kind of help push it through there and watch your fingers. And instead of reversing, you're going to lift your needle up, pull it out, and leave some threads there. And at the very point, you're going to tie a knot in your threads. That'll keep it from puckering right there at that point. So I do it about 3 or 4 times. Go left over right, then right over left, then left over right. Maybe one more time for good measure. And I trim those threads, leaving a little tail there. You won't ever see it, it's on the inside. Then cut off your first stitches. And you're going to repeat that process on the other side. Okay, once you have those darts in there, kind of want to have to press it over to the side. You'll go over and press them. But if you'll take your little sewing room hammer, you're just going to pound out that denim. And it'll make that lay a lot flatter. There. Take out your aggressions. To get rid of some of that bulk in there, I'm going to trim these seams down so I won't have to sew over so much when I'm reattaching that waistband. Okay, you want to kind of press that open, finger press it back down. And we're going to do the other side, inside. Going to match those two seams up. And we're just going to sew the top edge of the waistband. And you're just going to sew right along that dark place where the stitching was. These are stretch denim, so just pin it back where you're going to sew. can see kind of how that's going to fit back together. So let's take that seam next. Just keep that top edge lined up. Now I'm getting to that middle seam, and that's through a lot of layers. So I'm just going to turn my hand wheel so I don't break any needles. Hope y'all got your sewing goggles on. I wear glasses, so I'm protected in case you break a needle. Once you're over that seam that you took, you can keep sewing. Okay, next we're going to sew that bottom part of the waistband down, but we're also going to stuff this part up in there as we're sewing, okay? So you just want to get it and make sure that dart is laid down on the inside and place it. You can kind of tell where it's worn out, distressed. That's the part you're going to go over. So I'm just making sure that's up in there good. And as I'm pinning, I kind of look on the back because I'm putting it right there in that channel where it's darker. And I'm looking on here to make sure that it's in the same place on the back. And that looks like I got it a little too far up in the back. But when I took that seam, it kind of made it. There, that's better. And then here, you're going to want to make sure those seams are open. Turn that down. And you're going to want to center it right there where the center is. Make sure this is turned under. Make sure it's all between there. You can do it. So I'm going to turn that up on the bottom. I'm going to place this right in the center where that is. And I'm going to place this one on top of it. I'm going to put me a little T-pin in there so it's easier to go through all those layers. Easier to put in and take out. This denim's kind of stretchy, so it's easier to get those laid out good. Do the same thing over here. And when we sew this, we're just going to make sure this belt loop's out of the way when we sew. And all of our pins, if we follow them, are going to match in the back. So So there's the inside. And there's the outside. Now all we have left to do is attach that belt loop. And that's a lot of layers right there. You can use a needle and thread if you want to. You will need some pliers to push it and pull it through if you're going to do that. I'm just going to try it and try to turn my hand wheel. And if you can see, that seam that's in there will be covered up by your belt loop. So we're going to take it, center it up. Barely all fit under my presser foot. So I might have to raise it up a little and then lower it down. I'm going to hold those threads down while I turn it. And you can kind of feel when it hits a spot it doesn't want to go through. So I got my foot off of the gas pedal. So there you go. We got that waistband back on there. And that waist is 4 inches shorter because it's 1 inch that way, 1 inch that way. There's 2, 3, 4, and I took out the waistband to make it fit back on there good. Ta-da! Now for the next 5 pair. Yay!